Today we're going to learn how to render in Unreal Engine 5 using Lumens. We are going to use just a simple props to do our rendering. So this will be the X. You can download the X in fab.com. I will paste the link in the description below. I will be using Unreal Engine 5.6. You can start any project using blank, then name your project anything that you want. Before we start, let's go to our project setting and make sure our settings are all in line together. You can scroll down to rendering. First, we will look at our virtual texture and make sure it's switched on. And for the size, we can set it a bit higher, 512. Then we scroll down some more. You will see our GI. Make sure it's set to lumens. Reflection set to lumens. And the captured resolution, we can say 512 also. And software ray tracing, we will use detail tracing. The rest we can keep it as default, and make sure your shadow map is switched to virtual shadow map, and also switch on the support hardware ray tracing. And for the auto exposures bias, we set it to 0. For direct lighting, make sure you switch on your ray trace shadow, and we will use virtual shadow map. So once you're done, you can just click on restart now. Okay, then we can close the setting and we can start a new level, okay, by creating this new level in file, new level, and we can create an empty level. So it will be blank at first. So let's start by importing our asset. You can click on this content browser or control space. So just unzip your file, your golden X, and go to source, and we will import this 3D object. Just click and drag inside. Okay, we can keep everything as default. Okay, we don't need this Lambert material. We will create a new material. So we will delete this Lambert material. We will just click and drag this inside, and we will reset the location. Okay, press F to zoom in. Okay, now we need a ground. For the ground, you can use the engine ground. Just click on the engine and we will search for floor. We can use our default floor mesh. Click and drag inside and reset to default location. And then we can start to position our X. Go back to content. We will create a folder for texture. Okay, we go back to this folder. So we will use AO, diffuse, matter normal, and reflection, and roughness. Okay, we will skip the ORM. Click and drag inside. Now when we go back to content, we will create a new material. Just right click and create new material. Call this material X. Okay, double click on it. We will go to the default material graph page. So let's connect all the texture inside. We will start by using diffuse, base color, metallic, normal, roughness. After we are done, we can apply and save. Then we need to apply our material inside this X. Just click on this material, click and hold and drag inside. This is the default base color. It's good to save often. So once you're done, just click on save. You need to save a new level. Call this lighting demo. And for the ground, we need a texture tool. So we'll create a material for the ground. So right click, material, m_ground. For the ground, you can use any texture you can find online. For this demo, I will go to polyheaven.com. Just click on texture, asset texture, and let's select something like this concrete wall one. Then we can download them in 4K zip file. Maybe for the floor, I will teach you how to use ARM. Just download ARM, diffuse, and normal will do. Okay, once it's done, you can click download. Then we can create another folder. This is for our ground texture. Then we can click and drag all our texture inside. Then let's go to our material for the ground. First, let's load in our diffuse base color, then the normal, and our ORM. So the first one is the red, green, and blue. ORM is O stand for occlusion. R is the green channel. So we go to roughness for R, and M will be the matter. We'll go to metallic for the B. Okay, once done, just apply and save. And same thing, we have to go back to our material, ground, and drag into the ground itself. Let's set up our HDRI first. So in order to add in a HDRI, we need a HDRI map. So go back to our Polyheaven, we can go to our HDRI. We will select something indoor, something like this Brown Studio 2. So just click on it and download, and make sure you download in HDR and not EXR. So go to HDR and download. So once you download them, you can just import the texture in. Just click and drag the file inside. Then we need to create skylight so that we can project the HDRI. So just click on this icon and we go to light and skylight. Okay, once we have our skylight, everything will turn dark. Then we need to add in our cube map. Change the source type to specific cube map, and we go to select our texture cube, and in our skylight, click on the texture, click on the skylight, and we just select asset from content browser, and this will be our projected skylight. We go to our skylight, you can see the resolution is only 128. We can increase our resolution a bit more, 1024. So if you want to change your intensity to 2, you increase the brightness. You also can rotate our source angle for the HDRI, so we can see which angle is suitable for this rendering. Set something like this for now. We need to fix our exposure also. So let's add in a post-production. So go to volume, add in the post-process volume. Okay, once we have the post-process volume is somewhere below, it looks like a box. We need to increase that box to unbound. So with the post-process volume, click, just search for unbound. We need to extend the infinity. So with this selected, we need to fix our exposure first, because right now, if we are going to increase our intensity, you will see that the exposure it will auto clip to a certain degree. Right, it will go dark, then suddenly it appear bright again. So we need to stop that with our post-process volume. So let's use this first one, exposure histogram. So let's keep everything as 1, and the minimum and maximum let's keep at 1 also. Then we need to switch off this grid. Click on this eye icon and switch off the grid. Move this post-process down so that we don't see them. So we have our basic setup done. So if you want to increase our texture size, we want to tile our texture, you can do it in our material setup. So let's go to the ground. You can right click and search for texture coordinate. Another shortcut, you can click on U and left click, U for united. Okay, once we have this, we need a multiplier node. Click on M for McDonald, multiplier, and left click, and we can click and connect this to A, and B we need a perimeter node. Let's click on S, Singapore, left click, we can name this tiling. By default value is 0. Click on B, connect it. Let's use 1 for now. Okay, then we can connect it to all the UV, and we can click apply, save. Okay, now we have our, if you go to perimeter, we have our tiling set to 1. Right, if I going to make it smaller, okay, so go to perimeter. If we set this to 2, you actually tile your texture. Okay, then for skylight, you can switch it off and become black. Next, we need to add in another light. Maybe we can use our red light. Okay, so just click and drag it out, rotate them, and position them. So one way you can quickly position your red light is to right click on the red light and select pilot red light. So you can look through the camera instead, and you can click on the X itself and press F to focus, and now you can adjust them manually. Okay, another way is to split the viewport. Currently you only have one viewport, so you can click on window, viewport, and change to viewport 2. So this we can set it as a perspective, or you want to create a new camera so that we can fix the camera view. Let's put the viewport aside, and we will add in a new camera, cinematic, and cinematic camera actor. Okay, now we have our camera here, push it up. Same thing, we can right click and change to pilot to camera. Click on the X, press F, and let's position it in a presentable way first. Change our camera setting. Let's click on camera, and we will change our focal length first. Okay, so we will use a DSLR setting. Okay, under current focal length, we will set it to a bit higher because this is quite a close-up. So maybe we choose about 120. Okay, then for focus method, we can use manual. Click on this eye drop, you can drop it to the X itself. And in order to see the focal length, you can click on this purple color. Then we can start to change them manually. Okay, so I would like to focus more on this center area. So somewhere around this area should be good. Okay, with this done, let's make this a bit smaller. Okay, then we can adjust our lighting. We position in a way that we can see most of the details in our weapon. Okay, then we will switch on our HDRI skylight. Okay, now you can see it actually looks very bright overall. So we can just play with our lighting and our skylight and see how much we want to increase or decrease the scale. Maybe we will use 0.2. It's a bit better now. Let's try 0.1. Okay, 0.1 is alright. We can change our mode, our color for our rectangular light. We can use this light color, or we can use a color temperature. So let's change it to something a bit orange. Okay, then we also can rotate our HDRI. Can press G to hide all the UI. So I think we need one more light to fill up all the dark area. We call it a field light. So let's create another light. We'll use red light again. Let's look through the red light again. Click on the X, press F. Okay, let's change the setting a bit. Now it's a bit too bright. Okay, so for every light, try to use movable. And for the other light also, we change to movable. Using the light tool, we can decrease the intensity more. Maybe to 2. And change the color temperature to a bit blue first. Or if you want to really see the difference, we can use red color. Okay, just for visualize purpose. Then we can really see how much it affects. Okay, then after we are done, we can switch back to color temperature. Okay, with this reset to default, can increase the orange a bit. Okay, from here on there's no right or wrong, so you can just adjust accordingly how you want to look. Now we want to render out our image, so let's close this. We will change this to our camera view. What I like to do is to click on this camera setting. Okay, just scroll down a bit, you will see this high resolution screenshot. Okay, so when you click on it, and you can change your multiplier to 2 and use captured. So once captured, you can look at the folder. You will save in your default project folder. So let's say this is your image. It's good enough, okay, but there are some settings you can tweak in our post process. Before that, just let me tweak a bit of the lighting to make it looks a bit better. I would like my orange light to be the red to be at the front. So let's change this orange color. And at the back, I will change to a bit more warm, a bit more cool. We can change our source width and height to make it look more like a spotlight, so that the shadow will have a darker and sharper edge. Okay, I think we can go with this. Okay, so back to our post process. The first one I would like to change is the bloom. So once you click on this method, if you're going to change to convolution, okay, immediately you will see a bit of changes. Okay, the second one is the chromatic. So if you increase your chromatic to, let's say, 10, you have this kind of photography effect. So let's not increase it too much, just by a bit will do, maybe 0.2. Okay, you can see there's a very subtle change. Over here, it will look a bit more blur. When you take photograph, it's usually not so perfect. Everything is so crystal clear. It's not very realistic. What I like to use is to add in a bit of imperfection so that it look a bit blur over here. Okay, so just a tiny little bit will do. Okay, next go down to image effect. I would like to use this vintage intensity. Okay, so it add a bit of dark area at the border. Okay, what I like to use is about 0.6. Okay, not too much, also not too little. So if everything become a bit dark over here, maybe we can increase our skylight just by a bit more. Maybe the intensity we use 0.2. And then let's increase our cool light a bit more. Add the color, temperature, increase a bit more. Okay, let's go back to post process. Next, what I like to change is under the frame. Okay, let's see if we can click the white color to 1. So if you increase it by a bit more, you'll see there's some difference. So let's don't change it too much. Okay, so you can play with other type of like slope or shoulder, okay, if that helps you. The next one is more important, is the frame grain. Okay, if you switch on your frame grain currently at 0, so let's try 2. You can see there's a very small noise over here. Okay, let's set our mid-tone and highlight first. Okay, if we push everything to 0, it will look like the default value. So let's increase it. Then we will increase the highlight a bit. You can see there's a bit of noise. Let's change it to overall, just change it to 1. If I switch on and off, you can't really tell, but you actually can feel it. Okay, so these are a small thing that makes your render more realistic. So maybe I can render out to camera, high resolution, ×2, capture. After you're done with everything, you can start to play with your lighting and see if you can make everything a bit more nicer. Okay, so I have come to my end of my tutorial. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.